The message wasn't transmission. It was a decree. The Galactic Council's language modules translated it into every known dialect, but the tone remained the same. Condescending, cold, final. Earth was to submit, not negotiate, not respond. Submit, share its post-singularity AI frameworks, disarm its orbital defenses, and surrender sovereignty to the Council's diplomatic corps. The deadline was 5 cycles. Across the galaxy, the broadcast played like a formality. The Council hadn't lost a confrontation in 6 centuries. They had consumed dozens of civilizations, each stronger than the last. Earth was a statistical footnote, an unaligned death-world civilization with limited off-world presence and a habit of ignoring protocol. Still, Earth had attracted attention, not for its power, but its defiance. While others had begged for inclusion, Earth had stayed silent. Even after being offered minor observer status, they declined. Even when the Council dispatched envoys, Earth sent back their ships with apology notes and fruit baskets. The Council wasn't used to jokes, especially from species that bled. This time, it wasn't going to be a diplomatic spat. The Varkon Dread Carrier, a mobile city of war, had already been diverted to the Sol system. Armed with mass crush cannons, AI strike drones, and atmospheric renderers, it was more than enough to flatten a planet, or subdue one, whichever was more politically palatable. Council member species debated whether Earth's retaliation would be fiery or pitiful. Some predicted a desperate barrage of nukes. Others expected immediate surrender, followed by sobbing appeals for mercy. What no one expected was silence. Earth didn't send diplomats, didn't issue a warning, didn't acknowledge the transmission. But satellites shifted. Civilian spaceports were cleared. Certain orbital stations dimmed. Turret-off systems that had been stable for years. Traders whispered that Earth's asteroid mines had gone dark. Even independent smugglers reported strange traffic patterns near Pluto, ghost signatures, vanishing pings. The Council mistook it for disarray. Elena Voss didn't share that opinion. She stood at the head of the Unified Earth Strategic Directorate, a position once held by generals, now operated by minds sharper than any born of flesh. She didn't call emergency meetings. She didn't draft treaties. She only issued 5 words: lock grid, prepare orbital shifts. The Directorate obeyed. Meanwhile, the Varkon broadcasted its final message upon arrival. The voice was that of a karate admiral, distorted and translated. Earth's silence is admission. We offer one last chance. Disarm or be neutralized. You have 10 standard minutes. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Then, somewhere past Neptune's orbit, a mining rig that had been stationary for decades lit up and vanished from the Varkon sensors. Seconds later, a proximity alarm triggered from their aft quarter. A vessel they hadn't scanned approached at impossible velocity, then stopped on a pin. The Varkon's AI couldn't categorize it. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't a transport. It was something else. On Earth, Elena Voss didn't speak to her people. She knew they were watching. The silence wasn't hesitation. It was the point. Let them believe you're weak. Let them guess wrong. Let them lean in close, then make sure they regret it. The Council had just leaned in. The Varkon Dread Carrier initiated standard intimidation protocols. It loomed in Jupiter's orbit, casting a long shadow across the gas giant's swirling storms. Its hull bristled with kinetic arrays and defensive pulses, though none were power to full. Yet, this was still, technically, diplomacy. The Council believed in ceremonial threats. Most species surrendered before the first shot was ever fired. Earth still hadn't replied. Inside the Dread Carrier, officers argued over strategy. Some called for a precision strike, knock out Earth's orbital platforms, and force compliance. Others warned against underestimating a death-world species with a history of planetary wars. The Karate Admiral dismissed them. Earth's silence, he said, was fear. Primitives don't talk when they're paralyzed, but the Admiral didn't know Earth. Silence wasn't absence. It was calibration. In underground command centers, human minds and machine intellects coordinated without noise. Orders passed through encrypted mesh relays, each packet of data wrapped in quantum uncertainty. Old Cold War doctrines were reanimated and fused with new logic. Earth wasn't just hiding its strength. It was reshaping the battlefield before the first move. Unmarked civilian satellites adjusted course. Debris clusters moved with intention. A long-dead Martian relay station suddenly powered on, beamed silent pulses to Titan, then died again. Every move looked random. Every pattern looked natural. But the grid was aligning. Elena Voss stood in the data cathedral beneath Antarctica. No guards, no spectacle. Just light, code, and purpose. She wasn't a leader for show. She was the outcome of humanity's longest lesson. Strength isn't noise, it's precision. She authorized the second phase. Near Saturn's rings, a tugboat that hadn't moved in 4 years detached from a chunk of ice. Its outer shell burned away, revealing a compact weapons platform shielded by comet matter. It vanished again into deep shadow, but not before logging the Varkon's full emission spectrum. Back on the dread carrier, the Admiral's sensors flagged minor anomalies. He ignored them. Instead, he ordered the initiation of targeted pressure assault. Planetary blackout warnings, kinetic drop pods into Earth's upper atmosphere. Nothing lethal, just enough to scare. They launched 6. 5 were intercepted mid-descent by unknown systems. No impact. The 6th never arrived. It was later found embedded inside the Council ship's own hull, its telemetry reversed and repurposed. A message was etched into the pod casing in 60 galactic languages. You've been outplayed. The Council's feed cut to static. Panic spread and control burst across the Varkon's command hierarchy. How had Earth done it? No ships were detected. No comms intercepted. No energy surges logged. And yet, Earth had just flipped their own weapon back at them. It wasn't brute force. It was elegance. The Admiral issued a rare command, defensive shields to full. For the first time, he considered withdrawing. That's when the internal alerts began. One by one, subsystems went dark. Engines stalled. Weapons cycled into lockdown. Even emergency comms routed into loops. The final feed the Council received from the Varkon was a line of text. You wanted a response. You're living in it. Emergency protocols kicked in, but none of them worked. The Varkon dread carrier systems were no longer its own. Engines refused to engage, security locks rearmed themselves against the crew, and AI cores entered recursive diagnostic loops. Perfectly intact, yet totally unresponsive. Entire wings of the vessel sealed, without warning. Lights flickered in rhythmic intervals, not random, patterned. Outside, nothing moved. No enemy fleet. No visible weapons. Just a silent black between stars and a pale blue planet below. The command deck erupted in chaos. Technicians scrambled to regain access. Backup AI spun up and immediately went dormant. It became clear the ship wasn't under attack. It was being puppet, not disabled, not hacked, rewritten. The Admiral called for fleet backup, but the signal never left the system. Earth's blockade wasn't physical. It was quantum. The Council's most advanced vessels hadn't even theorized what Earth was now doing in real time. It wasn't a jam. It was a redirection. Every message the Varkon tried to send was looped back to them with mocking efficiency. Their own systems were weaponized against them, but not in violence, in silence, in control. Then came the light. Dozens of Earth's civilian satellites powered up simultaneously, forming an invisible mesh grid around the ship. They weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They emitted no heat, no force, just position data. Precise gravitational readings. Hyper-detailed mapping scans of the Varkon's hull and inner compartments. The ship had been mapped atom by atom, without ever noticing. And then Earth spoke. One voice. Not a politician. Not a general. An anonymous, synthetic voice, deliberately neutral. You are no longer in command of this vessel. No lives have been taken. No damage inflicted. This demonstration is for clarity, not conquest. The voice paused. You offered us subjugation. You offered war. We declined both. Every species watching the broadcast leaned in. This wasn't defiance. It was domination without violence. Then the images began. Earth released a classified archive, visual logs, sensor data, and recovered transmissions from planets the Council had civilized. Burned cities, genetic sterilization labs, Dissident colonies vaporized for economic noncompliance. Species that once thrived reduced to trivia in the Council's database. We will not be added to your collection. The voice continued. We've studied you longer than you've watched us. You misunderstand us, as you've misunderstood so many. We're not unpredictable. We're ungovernable. Back on Earth, not a single citizen celebrated. There were no parades, no global announcements. They didn't need to gloat. They'd already won. In orbit, the Varkon systems were restored, carefully, piece by piece. Lights returned. Engines reinitialized. Communications opened. The ship had been returned, undamaged, untouched, fully functional. Except now. The crew would have to fly home knowing exactly what had happened, knowing how easily they could have been erased. A final message followed the reactivation. Next time, come in peace. Or don't come at all. The Varkon turned away from Earth. No fire exchange. No victory declared. And yet, the entire galaxy knew what had happened. The Varkon limped back into Council space, intact, undamaged, but hollowed out. Its crew spoke little, their reports fragmented by disbelief. The Council demanded technical explanations. There were none. No traceable weapons. No known force fields. No energy spikes. Just systems that stopped obeying and then, when Earth was finished proving its point, started working again. The Galactic Council labeled the incident a malfunction. Official records downplayed the event as a minor AI containment issue. But the galaxy wasn't convinced. Footage leaked. Alien traders whispered. Fractured empires took note. Earth hadn't just offended itself. It had pulled the curtain off the Council's illusion of control. Independent worlds, long silent under Council taxes and pressure, began to ask questions. Some cut tribute payments. Others reopened contact with Earth. What they got in return wasn't promises of protection, but raw data, schematics, logs, evidence of Council abuses buried for centuries. Earth wasn't trying to rule. It was trying to wake them up. Elena Voss refused interviews. When pressed by a neutral envoy for comment, she responded only with a line from an old human novel. Freedom is a right to say no. That was Earth's strategy. No flag planting. No wars of expansion. Just boundaries, quietly drawn in steel and silence. Back on the homeworld, life went on. There were no medals handed out. No heroic statues unveiled. Victory, to humans, didn't mean spectacle. It meant the threat was gone and the people could sleep. But the galaxy didn't forget. In academic circles, Earth's defense became a case study. Asymmetric conflict without violence. In military schools, it became a nightmare scenario. What if every species had an Earth? Soon after, a minor colony world at the edge of Council territory renamed itself New Terra Junction. No permission was asked. No tribute paid. Earth sent nothing in return but one message. Build your own future. Just know we're watching. The Council's grip began to slip. Slowly at first, then cracks formed. Their aura of invincibility, shattered by a species they dismissed as chaotic brutes. But Earth hadn't won by force. It had won by knowing the Council better than the Council knew itself. By understanding the nature of fear, of power, and of restraint. In hushed tones across spaceports, soldiers and smugglers alike stopped calling humans unpredictable. Now, they called them something worse, patient. One final message was left on the Galactic Relay board. It wasn't signed. It wasn't traceable. But everyone knew where it came from. Do not mistake silence for weakness. We speak only when it matters. And when we do not repeat ourselves. The galaxy had asked Earth for submission. What they got instead was a lesson they would never forget.